Okay, the webinar is now live, and we're also live on Facebook, Chairman McClellan.
Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome.
I will call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Welcome, everyone, to the July 28th, 2021 meeting of the Cohasset School Committee. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom in accordance with Governor Baker's extension of certain COVID-19 emergency protocols and measures. However, this body will return to in-person meetings with a virtual feature, but we will be meeting in person as of August 18th, 2021. So at that meeting, we will be in person, but we will still have virtual capability so that everyone can still participate using some sort of virtual mode of communication, so that we don't lose the great participation that we have had. It was one silver lining associated with the pandemic. The meeting is, however, as always, being streamed, as Dr. Sullivan just noted, live on Facebook. It's being broadcast on Cohasset 143 TV. Would all committee members that are present tonight please indicate so in roll call? Mrs. Caleri?
Present.
Mr. Dial? Mr. Dial's muted. He's giving me a thumbs
There it
up
is.
here.
My mute button was hiding underneath my my taskbar, but I'm here. Present.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kearney?
Present.
Mrs. St. Ange?
Present.
Present. Craig McClellan. As of 6:01 p.m., all committee members are present. We'll begin the meeting with, as we do always, with public comment. Well, first, let me welcome, I see administrators and staff here, Torrance Sweeney and Principal Farrell. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We will move right into public comment, which this is the part of the agenda that's reserved for any issues or discussion points that are not related to other agenda items. So if you have something that is not on the agenda and you want to raise it, please do so now. Otherwise, please wait, hold your remarks until we reach that point in the agenda. I'll give everyone a moment to utilize the Q&A feature in order to make any public comment. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the superintendent's report. And at this time, I turn the meeting over to our superintendent of schools, Dr. Patrick Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan.
Thank you very much, Chairman McClellan, and welcome school committee and guests who I'll be introducing shortly, and everyone who's here watching. Kind of a midsummer school committee meeting, so I hope everybody is starting to enjoy the ever-improving weather. I'm very hopeful that we're going to have a nice August. I do not have a tremendous amount of updates because we are sort of midsummer, and we just met recently to review our strategic plan, which I'm very excited about. All I'll say is that right now we have no new guidance from DESE. If we do, and when we do, or if that happens, I will certainly let the school committee know immediately, and then follow very quickly with a notice to the staff and families. But right now we have no new information from them. The strategic plan we do have on the website, and I was able to get that to the school community, and I'll be following up very soon with information about how we'll be sort of taking the show on the road and getting some input and having some discussions with it. Hopefully that will happen, or I'll be able to get that out very shortly. So without further ado, I'll jump into who we have for guests here today. We have Torrance Sweeney. Welcome, Torrance. Torrance is our department chair for comprehensive physical fitness and physical education. Well, fitness too, but physical education and wellness. Grades 6 through 12, a fabulous educator. And we also have Principal Farrell here, who will be updating on our summer learning program. She was nice enough and is doing a fabulous job running to run the summer learning program. So we're going to be updating on that today. But our first point of business is we are very fortunate, as you all know, to have Cohasset Education Foundation working side by side with us in the district. They've funded, I should say, so many innovative activities and programs in our schools. And once in a while, they're able to pool their resources and take care of something that we know will help our district for many years to come. And this is one of those grants. It's a very large grant that the Coas Education Foundation was good enough to fund and to think progressively towards funding. So before I actually present the check to the school committee for approval, a gift, I'm going to turn it over to Torrin, who will talk a little bit about this Project Adventure grant. I know it's been near and dear to him. It's something that he's, since he came on as department chair, has wanted, and congratulations, Torrin. It looks like you're about to get it. So Torrin Sweeney, everyone, go ahead, Torrin. Just have to unmute.
Thank you, Patrick, and hello, distinguished school committee members. As Patrick just mentioned, I just shared with Patrick and Leslie a little earlier that this has kind of been a hope and dream of mine for the past 10 years. So the fact that the CEF has made that tremendous fundraising effort and chosen our project to be one to put forward this year is really exciting. It actually was last year. It was before COVID. They had accepted it to a point, and so it all had to go on hold for a year, but here we are. And I spoke with our point person at Project Adventure last week. We are scheduled to have install start on August 16th and hopefully finished by August 20th. I'd say the only little thing that we kind of ran into when the engineers from Project Adventure got to the school was, even though they had many pictures that I had sent them, they were concerned with going over the window and up to the ceiling into the certain I-beam area. So when they took a closer look at it, they decided that we would go wider instead of higher. So that in one way it's better because it allows us to get 3 belays in instead of 2 belays, which allows us for more kids to be active at the same time. So that's a great piece. And Alex is going to add a number of features on the wall that are things that kids can climb over and around. That'll be more challenging. So he's going to be able to make some adjustments there, and we'll have this more square footage, if anything. So that's exciting. The other features, the multi-swings are going to be put in the middle, also in the middle school area, which are features that kids can use and teachers can instruct, from getting kids all different types of challenges, from the peanut butter river, if you've ever heard of something like that, where kids are trying to get from one side to the other and working as a team to do so. So those multi-swings are going to be functional. The tension hand lines that work with those multi-swings are another piece. There's going to be our platforms, which is our Moby deck, which all the kids are getting on a platform and trying to balance, and that's all going to be part of it. Alex is going to be able to add a rope ladder based on just the way the budget fell. He's adding a rope ladder to it as well. So there's going to be another element that we didn't think we'd have in the beginning that we will have. So because of the CEF's fundraising effort and being able to get to the top dollar that we needed to get to. So we're really excited about that. Training for the staff, we are hoping we can do it the last week in August. Part of our August install, all the schools that were installed in June and July kind of have first dibs, and they wouldn't put us on the list until our install date was solid. So we might be getting trained in the early September, which is okay, because we'll be up and running by the end of September and have all the phys ed staff and wellness staff trained, and any other staff on board that would like to, middle school or high school kids, teachers that would like to get trained. Just adds another person that can take their kids to that space and use it for team building and spirit building, and and all those great challenges and things that help our kids do other things other than the traditional team sports. And I think some kids can really thrive in this different environment. And so that, again, is another reason I just think it's such a great addition to the wellness here at CHS and Cohasset Middle School as well. So I'll throw it out there to questions. I think I covered most of what Alex and I have spoke about, but I'm certainly happy to answer questions about it. And again, thank you to the CEF for getting this getting this done this year. It's super. Really, really excited about it.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. School committee, any questions for Mr. Sweeney? We'll go around in alphabetical order. Mrs. Cleary?
Thank you very much, Mr. Sweeney. And of course, thank you to the CEF, an organization that continues to be amazing. I am all for this. It sounds very exciting. I don't have any questions. I congratulate you on your persistence on achieving your dream. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cleary. Mr. Dial, any thoughts or questions or comments?
Nothing much additional from me. It sounds like a great thing for the kids. Again, thank you to the CEF, which is a fantastic organization. And, this is another one of those examples where persistence pays off. So Mr. Sweeney, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Mr. Kearney?
Me unmute here. Yes, again, thank you, Mr. Sweeney, also the CEF. And it just reminds me of how special of a town that we live in, and the persistent and this adds to the wellness of the child, the kid who doesn't play basketball or soccer, but is going to get the self-esteem and the learning skills and the problem solving that's going to make them get through. And to build that self-confidence, I'm over the moon about this and grateful. And thank you.
You're welcome. Love it.
Thank you, Mr. Kearney. Ms. St. Ange?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Great to hear about how this will come to life at the high school, middle school. I'm curious, just speaking of the, kind of thinking about kids who don't want to do a team sport, but may want to access this. Will there be an opportunity like a after school kind of like time when kids will be able to sign up to do this instead of a team sport, like not just during the day for team building stuff?
I certainly hope so. That's why I mentioned other
Mhm.
staff getting certified, because I could see this easily falling into an intramural thing.
Yeah.
Again, as long as the people are trained in it, they can, a lot of the lower elements any teacher can do. And there are a number of those low elements that will be involved there. But as far as the
Mhm.
belaying stuff, if they want to get trained, we just have to get everybody trained, and they can take a group in there and use it. We even mentioned possibility of a staff day using
Mhm.
it for a team building,
Mhm.
and maybe even the rec department. And that would, of course, Teddy Carroll would have to pick out some point people to get certified for that. And again, that would be up to, Dr. Sullivan and you guys kind of discussing that, whether that's something we want to extend, right out to the rec and have it used year round. Why not? I mean, that's
great.
how I would see it anyways.
I agree.
Yeah, I just think all of those are great options, and it's just so nice to have something like that right here at our school, and to be able to open it up to a broader population would be incredible. So thank you for your efforts. It's really exciting.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. St. Ange. Thank you so much for the presentation, Mr. Sweeney. Wonderful news. It's going to be a wonderful addition to the school. And although everyone already has, we can't thank the CEF enough for their very generous work towards the betterment of our public schools here in Cohasset. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I have shared the actual check or an image of it on the screen. So I'll turn it over to you, Chair McClellan, looking for approval for the very large fundraising sum of $48,605.76 to build this Project Adventure wall.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. I imagine, given the comments we just heard, that there would be some motion on the floor to accept this very generous gift of $48,506 and something cents.
600, sorry, I took it down. $48,605.76.
There we go. Is there a motion to that effect?
So
So
moved.
So moved.
Oop.
Oh my gosh.
Made by
All of us.
Simultaneous.
We'll maybe make the motion made by Mr. Dial, and I saw Mrs. St. Ange's hand raised, so we'll give that a second. All in favor, Mrs. Cleary,
Aye.
Mr. Dial,
Aye.
Mr. Kearney,
aye.
Mrs. St. Ange.
Hi.
Aye, Craig McClellan, Dr. Sullivan, that motion unanimously passes, so the gift is accepted, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank Mr. Sweeney for his fabulous leadership, and thank you for being here tonight. And of course, thank you to the CEF. They continue to make a huge difference in the lives of our students. So have a nice night, Mr. Sweeney. Thanks for being here. Okay, take
Thank
care.
you, everyone. Have a great rest of the summer, and I'll see you all in the fall.
See you soon. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
take care.
Okay, so moving on, and I'm also very pleased to welcome Principal Lisa Farrell, who of course is our amazing principal of Osgood Elementary School. And she and Dr. Scollins are going to update on our summer learning program. We've finished one session. We've started a second session. I'm excited to visit tomorrow. And I will leave it to the both of you to just present to the committee a quick update on where we are and how we're doing. So I think you both have co-host capabilities. So if you want to take it away. If not, Dr. Scollins, I can find it on my screen. Nope, you got it. So I'll let you take it.
All right. There we go. There we go. All right, everybody can see that, I hope. Great. So Principal Farrell has been the director of the program for our summer learning for this summer, but this actually started with a grant. You probably remember we talked about it last year, where we received a grant from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. It was a summer vacation and school vacation learning grant. We had a Jumpstart program for 2 weeks last year for K through 5. And Principal Farrell was the director of that program. It ran with great success. And we did a couple of weeks before school started in August. And we used teachers from outside of our district as well as inside who did ELA, math, and SEL with our students. We were unable to run the school vacation program. There wasn't a lot of interest out there. And so we felt we would use our money towards the summer learning program. So the Department of Ed let us do that. So we we're actually running 4 weeks, 2 weeks for each session for ELA, math, SEL. And as Dr. Sullivan said, we've already completed one session and now we are clearly into our second session. We're finishing up our first week of that session tomorrow. So I know Principal Farrell, you had some information around how things were, things that were happening. But I believe that we had about 158 registrations for the program, and I believe you said 120 were our confirmations, right, Principal Farrell?
Yes. Yep.
So that wasn't too bad. I think, people have other things that come to pass, so they don't necessarily have the opportunity that they thought they could. But the elementary program is 8:30 to 11:30. It's ELA, math, and SEL for our students. And then the middle school, the intention was to run it that way, but we had a little bit of a different participation this term. So Lisa, if you want to talk a little bit about how that changed a little bit for math.
Okay. Yep. For the first session, grades 9 and 10 were well attended. The students that signed up actually came, which was nice. This session here, we had a couple of students in grade 10 and 11 that weren't able to participate, or it was difficult for them to get there. So we opened it up that Mr. Marr is a tutor during that time. So some people that were, instead of having 2.5 hours or 3 hours of ELA and math, Mr. Marr will meet 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 with students, and they'll have ELA and math at that time. So it's more of a tutoring session for the older students,
Right.
which I think is a little bit more comfortable for them.
It did. It really worked out well. And at the high school level in ELA, they're doing their summer reading, which is wonderful.
Huge.
A lot of happy students, families, and actually our staff too. Karen McGinnis, who's the department chair, was really thrilled to hear that we were doing that with the staff, because the students, because that can be really challenging. Most of the work done with students is very much individualized to what the students need, especially at the high school level, because it's more of a tutoring, but even at the elementary and middle school. So it's really been fun to watch, and the children have been really excited to be there. So we just have a few pictures to kind of go through to show you. So this is our high school, and this is our ELL teacher. ELA teacher who is doing summer reading. You can see they've got their summer reading books in front of them. Our staff is about 50% Cohasset employees and then 50% outside of the district. And this is Elizabeth Darnell. She is actually a teacher at the North River Collaborative High School. And she's been wonderful. That's been really kind of fun to meet other people too. So there, and then we have, this is high school, I believe, right? Is this Jillian?
High school math, yes.
Jillian Lemick, and you told me that they were focusing mostly on.
The first session, they focus mostly on geometry, and the second session with the group that's come in, they're doing pre-algebra because they'll be going into algebra. So, but she said she's throwing in a little bit of everything. So when they start in September, they should have a good jump start.
Yeah, so it's been really nice to have this small group and these students that really, really want to be there and kind of give them that extra boost that they may feel that they didn't have that opportunity in the school year. These are our sixth graders. Right?
These are actually, well, yes, they're rising. Their fifth grade is rising to sixth grade. Yes, and they, I think the best part for them, you can see they're having fun. The best part for them is they're getting to get some information before they get to middle school. A couple of them are a little bit nervous. So a lot of the children are nervous about going from Deer Hill to the middle school. So it's a nice way to see this group kind of enjoying the end of fifth grade going into sixth grade. Mr. Marr, and there are two other teachers that are with him right now. They're doing a lot of activities with them. So they seem to be enjoying it.
Yep, which is really wonderful. Caitlin Caraba, who is at Deer Hill, she's been working with our students, which has been wonderful. And it's funny because you can kind of see, we don't really have a lot of middle school pictures. Middle school students aren't as much fans of having their pictures taken. So you saw high school, they were okay. Principal Farrell was so nice to ask, and those high school students were like, sure. And of course, the students they're moving into middle school. They haven't said no. So anyway, middle school students were there, but they weren't as keen on having their pictures taken. But we have some faces of our students doing their work.
First grade students. They always like having their picture taken, so it's okay.
Always, doesn't matter. And then here's some group pictures. There's third grade, fourth grade, and second. Did I get all that
Correct.
right? Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
Yep. And so it's just so nice. Small group, I think pretty much around 10 students per class, right?
Like that's about the average, about 10 students each of the sessions.
Right. We didn't want to turn anybody away. So there may be a session that has a couple of more, but we have 2 people in the classroom. So we have, we have support in the classroom. And then this was the staff. So big thank you to the staff. You can see those smiling faces and you can see some familiar faces, but what a really wonderful staff. And some of the staff were with us last summer also. They happened to teach, they got teaching jobs somewhere else this past year, but they were really happy to come back and work with us over the summer. So anything else you want to add, Principal Farrell, about the program?
I did want to say that I thank the parents that have been dropping the students off in the morning. It's quite a flow because we have our staff, our school group, and then we have ESY. So the Osgood is extremely busy this summer. People coming and going. I did want to make a special thank you to Lisa Gowell, who is the friendly face that everybody sees when they walk into the Osgood. She has been fantastic with making sure that everybody gets to the right spot and they feel comfortable. And then our custodians, Teddy Holland and Ella Fontaine, have been helping. We had our Dell's surprise where I think it was last Thursday, they got Dell's treat at the end and they were scooping Dell's and Lisa was giving out straws. So it takes everybody and everybody's been fantastic.
Which is great. And also the collaboration between the rec department for our elementary students has been wonderful too, because they are picked up after the program and then they go right to the rec department and it's a seamless day. So that's been really nice. In fact, I think we even got some students because of some drop-offs and some parents were dropping off students and they said, is there room? And we said, yes, there is. So it was really nice. So the grant has paid for about half of the program and the district is picking up the other half. Dr. Sullivan really wanted it to be open to everybody. So we took everyone and I'm really glad we did. It's been a really nice program. So that's about it. Any questions for us?
Thank you so much, Dr. Scoggins and Principal Farrell. Mrs. Caleri, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions, but thank you for the report. It's always good to see you, Principal Farrell. Thank you.
Mr. Dial?
No question. Sounds like a great program. So thank you for doing it.
Mr. Kearney?
And thank you for doing this. This is great for the kids. It's awesome.
Mrs. St. Ange?
Also a big thank you. We are personally experiencing summer learning right now, and it is fabulous. I have a very happy summer learning camper. And I'm just curious, I mean, I know that COVID grants won't last forever, but do you think there's any chance we could continue this in the future? I just think it's such a nice opportunity. And I guess speaking as a parent as well, it's really nice to have someone else help with learning during the summer, because my kids don't care that I'm a teacher and their mom. They don't want to practice with me. So it's really nice to do it somewhere else.
I do understand that completely with my own children as they were younger. Yeah, I think those things that we can look at. I think, you never know where the money could come from. So, and then I don't know what it would look like if we had to charge a small fee, if we couldn't get enough money to run the program as a completely free program. I don't know. We'd have to see. I think that's an interesting to think about. Because it has been really nice for the students. And I think they've benefited just the comfort of knowing that transition piece also for those like middle to high school and high school to, and those those elementary to middle school, and then those 8th graders going on. That was really nice. That was our biggest bump too, when you look at those upper grades, those 9th grade students, that was our largest group of incoming 9th graders.
Yeah.
Right. So just wanting to feel comfortable.
Yeah. I think even for the elementary school kids who have been with the same cohort for 2 years in a row, it's really nice to be in a classroom setting with different kids and just mentally preparing for that as well. That makes a huge difference.
Yes, I agree.
I think the feedback has been really positive, and the kind of collaboration with REC and we've, I think the ESY and the summer learning program have melded pretty well. We can continue to try to figure out ways to do that better, but the feedback has been excellent. So we'd love to do something like this again. But as Dr. Scullin said, some of it is funding permitted, but we can figure out a way to make it work. Totally worth it for our kids.
I think the fact that we have so many students and so many groups at the Osgood makes the children feel more comfortable. It's not only 1 or 2 coming. I mean, the door is opening and closing and everybody's going every which way. So it seems like a normal school day. It's not, myself and 2 other students are coming in. It seems natural.
It feels very alive up there. There's so much good stuff happening. Yeah.
Going on. Good place.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. St. Ange. I, like Mrs. St. Ange, had a child in the program. She participated in the first session, and we're very happy with it. And it's just so wonderful to see some learning going on during the summer. I think it's a pretty long break for the kids, especially after this year. But in general, I do echo Mrs. St. Ange's sentiments, and I think that where there's a will, there's a way. We can figure this out. I think it's a great program to incorporate it as a sort of permanent fixture in the Cohasset Public School offerings. So I'm sure we'll be able to figure that out. And, at first I was a little bit, I was a little doubtful about, the length of each session, but I think having gone through it, it was actually perfect. It's a perfect amount of time where it breaks up the summer for the kids, and right smack dab in the middle, you have a little bit of learning going on, but they still get a summer, which I think they need, especially after this year. They need a little bit of a break, and so it was kind of I think it was pretty perfect. And I really want to reiterate that none of it would be possible without Principal Sullivan and Dr. Scullins. Dr. Scullins and Principal Sullivan Principal Farrell, Dr. Scullins. I'm so used to saying Dr. Scullins and Dr. Sullivan in the same breath that I just made him a principal.
And we do have a Principal Sullivan, don't forget.
That's true. We have a Principal Sullivan too, but that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Mr. Farrell. Her and Leslie Scullins were absolutely instrumental in doing this. And obviously, educators do get summer vacations and principals get summer vacations too. But this particular principal has been there every day. Dr. Scullins has been participating in it as well, but Lisa Farrell has been there every day, during her summer to make sure that these kids get a quality learning experience for the total of the 4 weeks of the program. And it's a really selfless exercise, and just truly, I think, demonstrates how committed you are to education, Principal Farrell. So I wanted to make sure that everyone recognized that. It's excellent. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. She's done a great
Thank you.
job, and it's been nice knowing that she's at the helm.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Principal Farrell. Have a wonderful night.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye. Thank you for doing this. So Chair McClellan, that actually concludes, unless there's any questions from the committee. That concludes my update for this evening.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sullivan. Nothing wrong with that in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, sure.
We'll move into the next agenda item, which is the finance section. So we turn the meeting over to, I'm really stumbling tonight with my words. It's a mess. We'll turn the meeting over to our Director of Finance and Operations, Susan Owen, so she can give us the monthly finance update.
Susan, I have shared co-host privileges with you.
Perfect.
If you're able to.
I will bring it up right now.
Perfect, thank you.
Can we
This is
see?
the format that the committee had asked for, so hopefully you'll like it for this one too.
Right. So as you know, usual, I sent ahead the different reports that have been requested over the past, whether it's the budget summary or the budget to actual expenditures or the overall budget with their, budget versus expenditures. But I've summarized it in a memo form, which I think is much more clearer, and it pulls out the areas that we needed to talk about. So the information attached represents an update concerning the current budget conditions. Attached to the documents, you'll find a copy of the entire budget in several different formats. The areas that we're looking at, which are big because it's now the close of the year. So as of June 30th, the school department expended about $20,727,000 out of a $20,960,000 budget that was awarded. We're carrying about $193,000 in encumbered purchase orders. Those are things that have been ordered, but we have not received. There's been a lot of delays in receiving supplies and materials just due to the pandemic. Lots of things are backlogged. So as we encumber those funds, so the town holds on to that funding for FY21, and as those supplies and materials arrive, we pay those purchase orders and we close them out. Currently, there's a remaining balance of about $39,735, which will be returned to the town. Last year, we carried about 312,000 encumbrances and returned approximately 63,000. That 39,000 is not in stone because that $193,000 in purchase orders, some of those may fall through, some of those may be liquidated and canceled. So the minimum going back to the town is the 39,000. And then that 193 in purchase orders, there could be possibly some funding adjustments, things come in cheaper. And so some money might go back on top of the 39,000 is basically what I'm saying. At this point in time, all salaries have been paid. So we had no shortages in the salary department. Special education, I reported back in May that special education was a bit higher than expected. But as of the end of June, with all our purchase orders being closed out and final bills coming through from the special education schools, the overage wasn't as high as we expected. So the overage of $101,281 as opposed to in May, we thought it was going to be about $258,000. So I mean that was good in a sense. I mean that could be because we put in the purchase orders for the year for every student in our special ed schools to go to school every day, but each day that they don't go is a per diem rate that comes off the bill. So that, it could be one of those. It could be someone was hospitalized, so they're not in school. So that allots for the difference in the special education tuitions. As a result, it could be of unanticipated outplacements or changes in placements. Please note, there was no need to utilize money from the special education stabilization fund, which is put aside for any unanticipated expenditures that exceed what the budget was for. Because we had remaining funds at the end of our school year, the operating budget covered the deficits and was still able to return the $39,000. Utilities, I know we talked a little bit about utilities last month. We're pretty much at a break-even point. Now that we've closed out our purchase orders and we've paid all utility bills, we spent about 95% of our budget, leaving a balance of about $12,000. Again, that money gets absorbed into the overall deficits in the other accounts in the budget. So overall, the school budget ended very well. You know, it's nice to see that we can give something back to the town. You know, we didn't rush to spend every last penny. We did this year have a lot of extra help with funding from grants due to the ESSER. So we're able to purchase a lot more items. So given that it was a very difficult year, we still ended the year very well. Capital outlay. Again, we're working towards this, spending down our accounts. So on FY18, there was about $7,500 left over. That's been closed out and returned to the town. In FY19, there was a balance of about $10,000, which included remaining funding from the sidewalks and stairs, the upgrading of the bell system, and we purchased Aspen and we had extra money. So again, that money will go back to the town. And then in FY20, the same thing, another $10,000, which included a middle school entrance, a wheelchair van. Those are also completed, so the funding will get turned back or reallocated. And then for FY21, there was a balance of $8,500, which included a remaining balance for the Deer Hill windows and the split AC band room, and the projects are completed. So good news is we're working very well with facilities. We're staying on top of things. We, at this point for FY21, we have no outstanding capital projects. Sorry, I got the tongue tied from Craig. We have no outstanding capital projects. So we're going forward with FY22 and we're starting the process of beginning that phase of spending our FY22 money and getting those projects running, which is good to hear that we don't have any leftover projects. And then I give you a lot of detail on the grants. Grants fund for FY21 are about 2.1 million. We expended about 2,035,000. We have about 3,900 in encumbered purchase orders. To date, the fund balance is $125,120. This amount can be carried over into next year because it's a grant. They usually roll into the next year. Most grants are 1 to 2 years, but because of the pandemic, some of them are running 2 to 3 years, and some are even running 4 years. So if you can see here, we've expended a lot of our grants. We've tried to utilize our funding as best we can, and not leave outliers out there. So you can see, you know, the school reopening grant, the first grant we got has a 0 balance. ESSA1 grant has a 0 balance. ESSA2 grant, we only have about $12,000, which is going to roll into FY22. The COVID prevention fund is 32 cents. The remote learning grant, 0 balance. And then we get into a circuit breaker, which is the reimbursement on special education tuitions. This is what we have received and expended to date. We received actually the remaining $82,000 on July 9th. So on the next update, it will show that we received the total amount that we were to receive from circuit breaker. And then it just kind of goes down the list of you know, what the balances are on the other grants. And you notice there's quite a few of them there at 0 balances. The goal is for us to spend the money when we get it and not let it just sit out there. And DESE is quite pleased with that because they don't have to keep track of how many years we have sitting out there. And the grant also helps us fund approximately 14.7 FTEs in staffing as well. Some of these grants do pay for salaries. And then we get into our revolving accounts. So our revolving accounts show a balance of about 1.1 million, which includes $159,400 in deposits for FY22 already. So there's 5,000 there for preschool, there's 72,000 there for kindergarten, and another 82,000 for transportation. Among other expenses, these accounts cover salaries of approximately 12.9 personnel whose jobs relate to the accounts that they're paid for. And you can see what our opening balances were, what our receipts were, what we expended, what's been encumbered, and what the balances are in all of our revolving accounts. So conclusion, even though FY21 was a fiscally challenging year for us, there was a lot of extra expenditures that we had to do, a lot of supplies and materials, and you name it, tents and signs and trailers. We were able to, with close oversight, continue to maintain a balanced budget and close the year in really good shape, which is, I'm happy to hear. Anything else, if you have questions, please let me know. I can try to answer them. That's pretty much it. I mean, we ended FY21 in a pretty good place.
Okay, thank you for that update, Ms. Owen. Any questions from the school committee? Mrs. Caleri?
I do have a couple of questions. I'm just trying to get the actual document back up on my screen so I can see what they are. So thank you, Ms. Owen. I do love this format and I appreciate you continuing to use it. It makes it really easy to digest, I think.
Yeah.
So my question is, so it's about the kindergarten thing. So I just want to understand where all of that is and what line items it's coming from and what's really left, right? So initially we discussed using grant funds for that kindergarten line item, right?
No. I know we had worked in 25,000 into our FY22 budget.
Okay.
To help reduce the cost of kindergarten tuition. We're waiting to see what our actual enrollment's going to be before we can actually say what the actual tuition is going to be reduced to.
No, I'm just really what I'm wondering is if it says that we have a balance in the kindergarten revolving account, I just want to know that that's actually being carried over to next year.
Yeah, so if you look at the kindergarten,
yep,
the opening balance was the 48,000. We brought in 266, we expended 223. There's a balance of 91,464. Out of that 91,464, $72,000 are from deposits for the upcoming kindergarten class. So if you take
okay, that makes sense. Okay.
If you take the 91 minus the 72, there's a small amount left at the end of the FY21, not much. Does that
Got
make
it.
sense?
Okay, thank you. Yes,
You're welcome.
thank you. That's
Anything
it.
else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
No.
Mrs. Caleri. I thought you said you had a number of questions. Thank you, Mrs. Caleri. Mr.
No,
Dial,
sorry.
No questions for me. This was all very clear. I'll confess that I'm still getting used to looking at numbers of this magnitude, and your summary at the beginning is very helpful to that regard. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Mr. Kearney, anything to add?
Absolutely. This is a very good outlay of what we actually have, and it's the best I've seen in the last 3 years that I've been on the committee. To see it in this format, and I got to tell you, I really appreciate this. That said, a couple questions would be, are we saying that we have no projects left? Because I can find a lot to do in F21. We have no projects left?
We completed all of our capital outlay projects through FY21. I mean, for FY22, we have a whole new list.
Yeah, right. And that's what we
We have a whole new
discussed.
list.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we put that list to be proactive on this summary? And we can discuss that tomorrow in facilities. But I'd like to see in the future like something that what we're working on and where the money is and what we can do and where it's expended. And because if we can add that to this, again, this is probably the best I've seen. And to put it to like the grant funds employ almost 15 full-time employees is fabulous. And it just goes to show, to your point, Susan, about, they like to see us spend it, and we're spending it in the right places. And that's awesome. I think that's awesome. So if we could do that, and then we'll dial down tomorrow. I'm looking forward to dialing down on some of these projects that we're doing, because I think in 2021, I think it's 1.8 million. Am I correct? Something around there?
So that's FY22.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And that's why it wasn't part of this. This was FY21 closeout, basically.
Yeah.
So you'll see in July, my July report will show all the FY22 projects and what the status is and where we're at. And I also have a list of everything that happened this year and everything we're going to work on this upcoming year that we're now in for tomorrow's subcommittee.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then just to be clear, the AC in the band room is completed. It's ice cold air in there. Is that?
It
correct?
is completed and our Deer Hill courtyard doors are completed.
I was gonna ask the next question. I figured I'd save that for Craig, but I figured.
No,
Right.
I mean, facilities and, we work really close this year and,
Yes.
we want to get, if we ask for the funding in a particular year, we want to get the project done unless there's a really good grounded reason why we can't get the work done in that year.
Right. Well, again, I just want to thank you and all the staff of Cohasset Public Schools for putting this together, and you guys do a wonderful job, and I appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks for your support and your persistence. on
Absolutely.
that. I'll say the area in front of the double doors is the driest area at Deer Hill, and the coolest area in Deer Hill is the music room. So that's very much due to your.
Is that where we find you?
Everybody's support.
Yeah. That's great.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kearney. Mrs. St. Ange.
I do not have any questions, but I also continue to be a fan of this layout. So thank you, Mrs. Owen. It's very
Thank you.
understandable for the non-finance person that I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. St. Ange. Thank you, Ms. Owen. I just have a question. So the summer in the grant section, summer vacation learning. I imagine or presume that is money dedicated to the program that we just heard Dr. Scollins and Principal Farrell update us on.
Absolutely. That's funding the program.
Okay, and so am I also correct in, we still have a few days left. We have the rest of this week and next week, right? I think it goes into next week. So the balance, the 17,000, I imagine that's going to be dedicated to salaries, or not salaries, but wages for the
Yes.
the staff.
Yes. So again, these are balances through June 30th.
We already did our first session for our first 2-week session. So it's
And-
less than that right now.
Right.
Right.
Right. Oh, right now, yes. So that the payroll for the first session is just going through now. So that $17,000 within a week will be probably half.
Okay, so, but we can expect that, the 22,236 figure, that's going to be around what we're going to need to seek to continue this program.
Let's see, it cost, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was a little more than that. I think when it was said and done, I think we were closer to, oh gosh, I wish I had that number in front of
All
me.
right, so it's okay.
I
You
would
don't
say
need
it's
to-
about, I would say it was probably about 28,000.
Okay, so we subsidized it partially from
Yes.
somewhere else. Okay, all right,
Yes.
so, all right. I was just curious. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, does that conclude your report, Ms. Owen?
It does, unless there's any other questions.
I do not see any.
Well-
So we will move on to the next section of the agenda, which is the school committee section. First on that is the school facilities committee. Brief update there. I have been in touch with select board chairperson Carrie Thompson, who advises me that they are going to vote on their nominations, their first meeting in August. And I have heard from the town moderator that he anticipates finishing that process next week. So that means we will have a quorum and that committee will be meeting in August. So that's exciting news. It's a month later than I was hoping for, but I'm taking it. I'll take it. And it's going to be a long process. So we need all the time we can get. That's the update there.
Can I make a comment to that? If you don't
Sure
mind?
can, Mr. Kearney, you're on the school committee.
Yes,
Sure.
first, we're grateful that we're able to move that along. We're also grateful for the folks who put their name in. And if they didn't get selected, I just want them to be part of and let them know that they're part of the project to begin with. I mean, we only can have 9 people, but I know the select board had over 11 people, and wanted them to know that their value will be taken in throughout the process, and that we're all open to any suggestions and any of the talents that they can bring to the table. I just want to make sure that they're recognized. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Kearney. That's all I had to add as to School Facilities Committee. So now moving on to the reports from individual subcommittees. If there are any reports, we can just go around the table in alphabetical order. Mrs. Cleary.
Hi, so we met as a policy subcommittee yesterday and very efficiently discussed our policy. I'm not going to get the letters right. EBCFA, I think. I don't know. Anyway, the mask policy. We would like to revisit that. Our policy subcommittee would like to revisit that policy. And we have gotten extensive feedback from our legal counsel, and we'll include that in everyone's binder for next week's meeting and are putting it on the agenda. We don't need to vote on it next week. If we feel like we want to have discussion, we can make next week a first read, but we would like to put that back on our agenda. And we also plan to vote on the non-discrimination clause next week, because that should be something that is explicitly put on the agenda. And I've just emailed Jennifer and asked her to do that. So we'll have that vote next week. We are, so that's our policy subcommittee update. Lydia, did I miss anything? Do you know if I missed anything?
No, that was everything.
Great, thank you. And then as far as my other liaison responsibilities, I can say that Safe Harbor Coalition hosts an annual overdose awareness vigil each year on Cohasset Common, and they'll be doing that again this year on August 31st. And I will continue to remind people of that moving forward. Thank you.
Ms. Cleary, what time of day is the vigil? I have it somewhere, but
Usually it's at like 7 p.m. thereabouts. I can look in my email. If you don't mind circling back to me at the end of updates, I will let you know specifically.
okay, just speak up at the end, because I might forget, but I want to know.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Dial.
No specific updates yet. We will have a update next time, as we're meeting with the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee tomorrow. The agenda has been posted, and I think I think Mr. Kearney referenced that earlier on. So excited to get some work moving there.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Mr. Kearney.
Nothing more than what Lance just said. We have that special meeting tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. And, it's good to see the playgrounds. Kids are out there playing baseball, and the theater had a great theater this week to kick off. It's just good, nice to see the arts back too as well. So things are going well in town.
Thank you, Mr. Kearney. Mrs. St. Ange.
Yes, I have a update for alternative energy that I'm going to read because I can't memorize it all. So it's just kind of touching base about some of the ongoing behind the scenes solar, just so that we're in the loop. So in terms of the solar energy array, there is continued discussion with developers. Real progress is being made because there is issues with National Grid and some sort of interconnection costs. So there's like a lot of stuff that you guys don't necessarily need to understand, but National Grid said they had to like connect through Norwell. And now the Alternative Energy Committee representing Cohasset is discussing with National Grid because it doesn't seem warranted for such a small system. So they're pushing forward with that. In terms of the microgrid, that's my landline. We're just gonna have to deal with that while it rings in the background. Reaching out to a number of strategic partners to create a consortium for creating a townwide muni grid for the entire community to improve reliability and resiliency, which has been a goal all along. There's going to be a more detailed plan presented to the select board coming up. And then they're looking for representatives from the committee, which I think I am already. I think we decided that when we were talking about solar earlier in the year. There's a grant that pays for up to 75% of costs, with the remaining costs shared by others. This is relevant to schools because they want to ask for grant funding to cover early roof replacement to support solar. So they, for example, Tanya explains, you could get a 26% federal tax credit to replace the roof as part of a solar project and request a grant for the balance of what the town would have received from the state if we replace the roof. So obviously we wait for what the state subsidizes, and she's saying that this grant could subsidize maybe a similar amount on a earlier timeline. So interesting to have them looking into that. The goal would be to make the town indifferent or even better off by replacing the roofs early and then receiving lower maintenance and higher electricity cost savings and energy reliability by using the school roofs for solar. So if the school roofs are included in the grant proposal, the AEC may ask for approval to include the schools in the grant proposal and permission to move forward with roof replacement on an earlier schedule if this ends up being a part of the funded opportunity. So just interesting to know kind of these other routes that are being explored. I mentioned electric buses last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess. Continuing to look into the economics of electric buses, microgrid study that looks at the feasibility and cost of using electric buses as mobile storage resource. Resources charged from the solar energy array at the DPW station is almost complete. If the study provides a positive recommendation and path forward, we may look at seeking agreement from the town that we should convert to electric buses and submit a grant request to either the state or as a part of the microgrid brick grant to cover the incremental cost of purchasing and maintaining electric school buses. So depending on the outcome of that, and if it makes sense, they would request a buy-in for electric buses and permission to request a grant for incremental costs. So a lot of if-thens, but interesting. I feel like the AEC is really a great source of many brilliant people who are looking into many grant opportunities that could possibly benefit the school and the environment. So it's kind of, we see where it goes, but that was a pretty big update. Sorry, it was a little wordy, but that's that.
It's awesome.
Awesome from Paul.
Okay, does that complete your updates?
Yeah, sorry, that completes my updates for today, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for that update, Mrs. St. Ange. I don't have any updates. So
Reminder to circle back to me.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you.
Mrs. Caleri, what time is that vigil on August 31st?
6:45 to 8. Thank you very much, Dr. Sullivan, for also supplying me with that information. However, I just wanted to say very quickly, when I found it in my email, it was in the newsletter that Safe Harbor sends out, and they also include in there a link to a virtual exhibit called Hidden in Plain Sight. Dr. Sullivan, have you seen that yet?
Yes, actually, we had that as part of our Safe Schools Night a couple of years ago. And
Right.
I have,
So that's like, yeah, sorry.
it's excellent. And I think it's been here a couple of times, and I was familiar with that from a previous job I had. So it's excellent. Excellent.
Right. So good, right? I've seen it so many times and it's so interesting, but I always thought like, oh, it's kind of hard to get like people who aren't necessarily interested in learning this to look at it. But now they have a virtual one, which is so awesome. So maybe it's worth talking to the principals about including it in their newsletters, possibly.
I think that would be a great idea. And actually, it's too bad Mr. Sweeney wasn't here, because he'd be the one certainly driving that. But we will absolutely mention that. And I'm a big fan of that program. Anything that raises that awareness, I'm all for.
Awesome. Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you, Mrs. Caleri. Next, unless we have any other updates, I'll move on to the next section of the agenda. Okay, that's the approval of minutes, which from my understanding, we have one set of minutes to approve that our secretary, Ms. St. Ange, has submitted to us. Those are for the July 14th, 2021 meeting. They were provided to you via email by Ms. St. Ange. Has everyone had a chance to review those? Hopefully we have. If anyone has anything to add or revise, just speak up.
I thought they were great minutes.
Thanks, Mr. Dial. I appreciate that.
Okay, I had one thing that I'll just note.
Okay.
I don't just want to. I made a reference to Neil Armstrong, and I don't want to be going down as misquoting a national treasure. So I had actually stated that it says that this is our first step, as Neil Armstrong would put it. He did
Would you
use
say
the term
small?
step, but it was giant leap is what is the term that I used. This is our first giant leap.
Okay.
So instead of the word step.
I will certainly change that.
Not a major thing, but
kind of major. I mean, it's a historical quote.
Wait a minute, I think you said step. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
to make sure that I didn't, I looked back at the meeting and watched it.
Did you do a replay? I like it.
I
Oh
sure
my
did
gosh.
because I
be-
would have been very disappointed in myself if
Now,
I
if he had said if Neil Armstrong had said a giant leap for me and a small step for mankind, it would have changed a lot of things
True.
out there,
right.
right?
Hilarious. Okay, I will change your words to giant leap. Got it.
Also, can I thank Kathy? Thank you, Kathy. We
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Excellent
Thank
job.
you. You're welcome.
I
Thank
know.
you.
Kathy is extremely efficient and she's great to have on board.
Oh, thank you, Lydia.
Oh, anytime, Kathy.
Okay, so if that does it, can we have a motion to approve the July 14th meeting minutes as submitted by Mrs. St. Ange with the one revision that we just discussed? Is there a motion to that effect on the floor?
So moved.
The motion is made by Mrs. Colery. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion is seconded by Mr. Dial. All in favor, Mrs. Colery,
Aye.
Mr. Dial, Mr.
Aye.
I saw his mouth moving in the eye. Mr. Kearney, is he still here? He is not. We lost him momentarily, likely due to Cohasset Wi-Fi. Mrs. St. Ange.
Aye.
Aye. Craig McClellan. So that motion carries by a vote of 4 ayes. And those meeting minutes are approved. Before we go further, there was a question posed by a member of our community that is watching. It is posed by Francine Lyons, who resides at 25 Fernway. And she states and asks, good evening. I understand the school is anticipating replacing the turf/track this fall and will likely mean all fall sports games will be played away. I also understand if the funds were not approved in May at the annual town meeting, it is likely the turf and track would have continued to be used this fall by the sports teams. Why hasn't there been more consideration around timing of this work to not impact our student athletes? Agree the work needs to be done, but timing needs to be planned better. Thank you. Well, I will just note that Ms. Lyons is on the capital budget committee, and this project was submitted to them in detail, and it was a project that was approved. But I'm sure that they were aware of the timing of our request and details surrounding the project. But Dr. Sullivan, I'll let you provide any additional insight that you wish to provide relative to that point.
Well, obviously safety is paramount to everything we do. We want to make sure that when we possibly can attend to it, any safety issue that we get right to it. So we are moving to replace our turf and our track, which will be the work we're hoping will start this summer. It will impact the fall season for sure. We understand that. We're not blind to the fact that it will have some impact on our student athletes and our phys ed classes. Having gone through this in a previous district and seen this happen in other districts, it is part of whether you have a turf or you have a field. Often fields can't be played on for a year or even stepped on if we had a natural field. So it is sort of a casualty of doing a project like this, but we're very thankful for Ms. Lyons and the Capital Committee approving it. And we're committed to getting this done as quickly as we possibly can, so that we don't impact other seasons. And I don't know if Ms. Owen, our Director of Finance and Operations, has any additional information. We have a project manager assigned to it, and we are moving with some alacrity at this point to get this job underway.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. There's some follow-up. I just want to make a follow-up comment from Ms. Lyons. She just wants to make it clear that this is a question on her behalf and not Capital Budget Committee. The discussions during those meetings was to do the work during the summer and not impact or in parenthesis minimize work for fall sports.
Yeah, we weren't able to do that.
That's right. Okay, moving on. Someone else made a comment, and let me just make sure that I have their address. I'll get the address while we're answering the question because they're watching. I just want to ask the question. Someone asked, what is the safety issue? And I'll note afterwards. There we go. Their name is listed as A. Seam. Last name is S-E-E-M, and they're at 14 Bancroft Road. And he asked, what is the safety issue?
Sure. Then there are a couple of safety issues. One is our track has bubbling and all kinds of issues that could result in tripping. Our field, although not at the point yet where it's deemed unsafe, is getting there rapidly. And we feel that if not attended to immediately, that will be a tremendous safety hazard as well. So we are we're very thankful to get the funding. And as I said, it's really important that our students have the best and safest facilities, whether it be a field or a classroom. And just as we attend to anything that could pose a problem for them, we're excited to do that to create the best possible playing surfaces and running track, not only for our students, but for our town. So that's what we're moving towards. But it is that's really the safety issue, is the track and the turf.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. Yes, I think the point is we want the best possible facilities for our kids everywhere. And ideally, we would never impact or displace any other sports teams. But we're doing what we can in that regard. We're certainly not knowingly subjecting kids to an unsafe environment. That was a preventative maintenance issue that was, I think, preemptive measure, not something that's reactive to an already existing, dangerous condition that, can't be played on. So any comments from the school committee? Oh, there's another question from Mr. Seam. Why wasn't it possible to do it during summer of 2021? I think maybe that was answered in relation to Ms. Lyons' question, but
yeah, I mean there was some issue. I don't know if Sue, if you want to talk more specifically about it, but we can't expend anything until July 1st of the next cycle. There were some bidding in spec situations that delayed it, and a little bit of confusion between what was going on with the town procurement and our own school and our school finance department and our ability to move it forward. But like I said, I mean, we're in late July here. We're hoping to get this going as soon as we can in the summer. It was going to impact the fall season no matter what. The most we would have been able to offer would have been maybe a couple of weeks of playing on it. But we're hopeful that the process will move very quickly, and maybe we don't know. We'll see what kind of timeline we get in the fall. But I wouldn't say it's been significantly delayed.
Now, we should be going out to bid in the next 2 weeks. It will be advertised and ready to go.
Ms. Lyons followed up with a statement. The rating of the field, as I understand, is under industry guidelines and does not approach the industry limit. Additionally, I was told it was likely the field would have been used this fall without approval of the funds. So it appears it is not an immediate issue, as was just mentioned.
So just to clarify, I don't think I said it was an immediate issue. What I tried to say is that we felt like it was a building issue, like a issue that was going to gain momentum, we want to take care of it as soon as we can. You know, it's not our process he's to let things go to they're very, very dangerous. We want to make sure that we're preemptive. We take care of them as soon as we can. When we receive that funding, you know, we're going to move to take care of it to get the best facilities for our students for as long as we can possibly get them. So just to clarify that. I'm excited for it. I'm excited. I think the community deserves it. And I feel like this is overdue. And I'm glad that we're able to do, you know, from an operational standpoint, it was very, very well determined that to do the track and the turf at the same time. It was supported by the town manager. It was a good move. And we're doing that. So, you know, I understand it's going to cause some problems for our student athletes and some of our students in phys ed, and I recognize that, and we're going to try to be sensitive and do what we can to provide good practice facilities if we have to use other towns or we have to use, you know, our fields here, and to provide the best possible actual contests and playing times and places for our students. But you know, these are the things that happen when you do a new construction. So I just want everyone to know that we're aware of that. We're going to be very sensitive to it, try to work through it. But I do think it's very important that when we're given funding to attend to a safety issue, that we do that as soon as we can. And I appreciate there was a bit of a delay here, but it doesn't mean that we should wait even longer to get it done, because I think our students deserve better.
Mr. Seam followed up with two other comments. I'll just read them at the same time because they came in about the same time. He states, "This is a major disappointment and it feels like we are suffering from poor planning. I apologize, but that's how I feel. I am excited too and appreciate all the hard work at the school, but there must be a workaround. Can the turf be supplemented with infill for the next year?"
Yeah, I'm not even sure I know exactly what that means. But you know, right now it's not our plan to delay this. It's our plan to move forward and get this done in the fall. So I apologize for, I understand the infill and you know,
I mean,
Max, I understand that, but I'm not sure exactly what the question means. We're moving forward at this point.
it is a disappointment. I mean, it is a disappointment that it hasn't started. It hasn't started yet, but you know, it's not, I don't think, really a result of poor planning. I think, you know, the plan was put into place. It was presented to capital budget. We obtained the funding, and you know, I don't really know how many municipal projects are completed with celerity. I mean, you know, the doors at Deer Hill. I mean, it took months and months. I was there and I was looking at that school, you know, in November, talking to a vendor, and then we heard other bids, other projects, other solutions, and then we decided on that same person that was already there in November, and that just got completed. So that took nearly a year, and that's just a vestibule outside some doors to keep. So it's not optimal. I mean, you're right, you know, but if you're looking for someone to blame, I'll take the blame as the chairperson of the school committee. I mean, I think that, you know, everyone is doing, and remember, there's a lot of facets to the school operation. Everyone knows that. I'm not enlightening anyone there. And we just, you know, came out of a really tough year. And I think there were a lot of things to worry about, you know, the kids first and foremost. And I think everyone's doing the best they can, but you're right. I mean, Mr. Seam's right. It's a disappointment. It is a disappointment if the kids are displaced in the fall sports, especially after the year they just had. It is. And it's not something we want. I mean, none of these things are something we want, but it's just unfortunately, I don't know. We can't get in a DeLorean and go back in time and maybe, I don't know, take steps that might have fast forwarded the project somehow. I don't know what those would have been anyway. As I said, it's not like I can identify one thing that would have realized a you know, more advantageous or desirable result. But yeah, you're right. It's a disappointment, and you know, I'm always disappointed to see any of the families disappointed about anything that we're trying to do here. But I just know how hard everyone's working towards the common goal. And you know, we were just meeting. We were just in the town manager's office. I don't know, Dr. Sullivan, was that Pat last week? I mean, we were just talking about this so that we could decide, you know, what was the best way to proceed. And you know, we've gotten the project manager. We're working with them so that we can, you know, try and accelerate the program. We're going to make sure that, you know, any bids, everyone knows the time is of the essence. We're going to press that. from my understanding, it's about a 4-week project once it gets started. So, hopefully, it won't impact sports too much.
Right.
I know that there was, I think last time we did this, it was explained to me by someone that was involved, the football team's first home game had to be displaced. It had to be like pushed a week or two. So this isn't the first time we've had to do this, but it's a special consideration will be given to it. And if there are some alternative solutions that we need to consider, if worst case scenarios arrive, Mr. Seam, I mean, sure, we will. I mean, I don't know that we're going to think about that now, because what we're trying to do is actually complete that project in as timely a fashion as possible. So I apologize to everyone. It is a disappointment. It is.
Yeah, and I'll join that apology. Certainly we had hoped that it would get running earlier, but there were some complications with it, and we're doing our best to make sure that we move it forward in a efficient way, and that we communicate to everyone where our alternatives will be for practice, for games, and then also to make sure that everyone knows the time frame and what we're dealing with and what we can expect. So I'll definitely join that apology chorus.
Okay. I don't see. Oh, wait a minute. I guess they're. Ms. Lyons added, everyone appreciates things take longer, but relating it to the July 1st date is not fair. It was approved on May 24th. Fiscal year is July 21st. There should have been no expectation money would be available by May 25th, but it seems work could have started knowing funds were approved and forthcoming. Okay, perhaps you're right. I've said everything that I want to say on the subject. I'll just take, I want to make sure people's comments get read into the record. Mr. Seam states it's a bit of an emotional subject for parents of rising seniors, and I certainly appreciate everyone's efforts. It just is news out of the blue. So I just want to make sure those comments got read in the record, because they came in as I was speaking. Okay, thank both of you for participating.
Thank you.
And sharing your disappointment with us. Okay, any comments from the school committee on any of this before we move on? Okay, then we'll
No,
move
I
on.
will just make one observation, sort of unrelated, but we've had the use of 2 words, alacrity and celerity. I just want to compliment the vocabulary of the attendees to this call. So thank you, keeping it highbrow.
All right, some positivity there. I like that. Moving on to topics not reasonably anticipated within 48 hours. There are none that I'm aware of. There is no reason to move an executive session at this time that I'm aware of. So at this point, we reach the end of the meeting, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting from any member.
So moved.
The motion to adjourn is made by Mrs. St. Ange. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Kearney. All in favor, Mrs. Colery?
Aye.
Mr. Dial?
Aye.
Mr. Kearney?
Aye.
Mrs. St. Ange?
Aye.
Aye. Craig McClellan. The motion unanimously carries, and the meeting is adjourned at 7:18 p.m. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you,
night,
everyone.
Thank
Good
you
night.
all. Good night.
Aye.
Bye-bye.